and welcome back to my Let's Challenge of BioShock. In the last episode, we broke Frank Fontaine's mind control of us, and now we stand here in Apollo Square, I think, ready to finish off this area and be able to move towards Frank Fontaine himself. It's going to take a bit more than just that because we have some more storyline elements to follow. Some more non-storyline elements to follow, I should say. It's actually the complete opposite. We're essentially looking at a completely optional path that I remember missing the first time I went through this area, but actually provides with a large chunk of it's actually quite a large combat area. There's a lot of we're talking like healing items, sorry, not healing items, but we're talking about stuff like, let's say, kind of please, you know, hit. No. Thank you. Jesus. Not a good start. But no, essentially it's a completely optional area, lots of audio diaries. I think it probably has the power to the people machine. I think it has the final little sister of this area, because we only have the one of the two, and we'll be able to grab that and then be able to head over to the bathysphere station and leave this area for the final time. So that is what today's episode is going to involve. And yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, it's been great just being able to go back through this game. Take that first aid kit. There's no reason not to, aside from the ammo. But that is a minor quibble at this point, where we have far too much money for. Far too much money, and health is getting more of a premium now. Certainly, the enemies are taking way more hits, and for that reason, you know, we need to be way more careful than we normally would be. But it does mean one of the things that this does mean is that we can actually. I'm a star, not you. Is that we can actually finally. Use the add-on that we've got recently, because no longer are our plasmids unstable, and I'm pretty sure we've got a fair amount of stuff to spend, so we'll get onto that. So we should get the physical tonic slot, which will give us does not give us a trophy, but we'll get the combat tonic slot as well. So what do we want here? We'll take Frozen Field 2. It's there for a reason, I'm sure. And for that reason, therefore, we should be pretty aware of it. There may well be enemies later on in the game which involve using ice against us. Oh, it's just an ammo. Goodbye. I'm pretty sure that turret is friendly. Yes, he is. Good. Okay. So essentially, this next path, we can literally leave this area pretty much straight away if we wanted to. Since there is the path to the bathysphere station is actually pretty obvious. That's what we want.
Listen to me! Leave me alone!
So it looks like that.
I just want to talk to somebody!
Ooh, finally, a steel tip bolt. You can actually, looks like this guy's got, unfortunately for him,
I'm just warming up! You only make
lovely. Okay. So yeah, we can essentially head straight down there. This will take us to the Rapture Metro, and that obviously allows us to exit this area and, you know, finish it off. However, there is a large area, as I mentioned previously, and that is located further ahead. That is Fontaine's Center for the Poor over there. So as we found out recently, that essentially Fontaine utilized, you know, the discontent of all the people who... Oh, here we go.
The charity angle. Fontaine's home for the poor. Before I knew it, I was calling myself Atlas. I was leading an army. Ryan and his precious Rapture. You don't have to build a city to make people worship you. Just make the chumps believe they're worth a nickel.
So there you go. There you see sort of Frank Fontaine's attitudes, I guess. Turret! Probably didn't want to do that, I'll be honest. They usually fire an extra one. They do fire an extra one. So, here we go. So, yeah, as you hear there, you know, obviously Fontaine sort of taking control of everyone who came to Rapture, and I think there's another audio diary where he talks about, you know, the fact that there always needs to be someone to actually, you know, sort of clean the
The people here have grown to trust me. Ryan's mistress, and
the toilets.
still they take me in. They finally brought me to Atlas. Without him, the people of Palo Square would give up. Welcome to the circus of doubt. Some kind of uprising against Ryan. He sighed and said, I am not a liberator. Liberators do not exist. These people will liberate themselves. I thought Andrew Ryan was a great man. I was a fool.
So there we see Diane has undergone essentially her full conversion. She's bought into this belief system that Frank Fontaine has drilled into everyone in this area. Just that they all believe, you know, as he says, that they're worth a nickel, that essentially these people who are usually like down at the bottom end of Rapture's social spectrum actually, you know, have something to fight for, to work for. You know, their lives mean something as opposed to just being another person in Andrew Ryan's great chain. You know, people want to be something as opposed to just, you know, being objectified, essentially, being turned into objects. So, and yeah, so she's undergone full, you know, full conversion. She's now actually going against Ryan. She believes in Atlas, as everyone else does. It's difficult to say. I'm not entirely sure of the exact timeline. I can't work out if Fontaine created the Atlas persona before he actually, you know, faked his death. Whether he was sort of, you know, duping everyone all the way from back then, or whether it was only right at sort of like, or if it's only been since he died, and then, you know, as he was planning his great plan to essentially get through. Because I don't think the audio diaries are dated, although I might be wrong. I might check that. So, second floor of this area. And we can hear a Big Daddy making his way around, and that's obviously important. There's definitely someone there. That's still a one-shot, okay? That's still a one-shot. Looks like it is. Beautiful. See? This is what we want. We want to go... take back the opportunity to just, you know, destroy everyone with the crossbow. So as I said, this is the area with the second Big Daddy of this, of this particular section. Because we are overstuffed with kerosene.
Nothing ever works anymore. God damn it.
Thought there was something wrong about that. I was right. You're down. That's a first aid kit. Pick that up. Lovely. Okay, cool. So I think that's everything on this second floor. Nothing too revolutionary yet. I think it's the third floor that we see everything. Or maybe it's this other side. Maybe we don't get access to it yet, because that door certainly doesn't seem passable. So it may well be that there's like a something that we drop down through in order to get access to it. Yeah, another locked door. Okay, so you can just break that. And that does allow you to drop down into the floor below. Interesting. Full of water. Good to see the thuggish is the thuggish splices still go down pretty swift to napalm and stuff. To a lot of my you know, high level weapons essentially. I'm assuming there's no way out other than the window, so there is a Big Daddy who does not have a little sister. Hopefully he won't turn up the stairs. Does turn up the stairs, of course. So that's that particular window. The design of some of these areas is just so strong. Like you really get a feeling for exactly how they wanted this sort of, you know, this block of ramshackle sort of apartments to feel. And they nail it. So it may well be that we actually can climb through a window or something to the floor below. Or it may well be that that is the floor below and that's as far as we can go. Yeah, so that's the door actually, that's the entrance to the door and it's completely caved in, so that's why we can't go through that door. So, we'll wander across. following this Big Daddy. Again, obviously, there's no point in taking him on because he doesn't have a little sister. Once he has a little sister, we'll then consider it. So, Atlas's headquarters. This is where he sort of ran his whole, the whole shebang. This is where he convinced everyone who he was.
Service has a crack, will you?
A little worried with the mess of enemies here. Gonna say there's definitely something around here. Pretty sure that should be working for me, not against me. I might be wrong. If he has a little sister, we'll then be able to use this. Do you have a little sister? Do you have a little sister? Tell me. Yes, you do. Okay, you can start attacking. While I ready. Attacking me or not? Are you just chasing after me? Hello. Why is he following me? Very confused. It's like I've got hypnotize on him, but I don't. I know I don't. He just takes them down with one hit. Pretty impressive. Still, we're going under half health. I mean, if I was to just start firing electric gel into him, he will die pretty damn fast. Boom. There we go. Lovely. A little confusing. Not entirely sure what was going on there, but there we go. We can rescue our next little sister. We must be only like 2 away, maybe 3 away from having everything done. As we do actually get the next Tenenbaum gift.
I am tainted by sin, but you, perhaps you unlock a future for them that I cannot even imagine. A little one heads your way with a gift. Please be careful.
Incendiary bolts. Steel-tipped bolts. Ah, oh, I see. All of the ammo. So this is, I guess, you know, like they're trying to illustrate sort of like where Atlas was setting everything up. Can use all this buck, be honest. Certainly not a bad thing. Thank you. Yep, very good collection of ammo there. As we could probably expect from Atlas's main base. And then hopefully you noticed on the floor below we're actually going to start, we have some pretty, I think there's a lot of things. There's a power to the people station, definitely. But there's also going to be a few other goodies for us to find down here. Starting with this audio diary.
Never play a man for the short con when you can play him for the long one. Atlas is the longest con of all. Ryan wanted Frank Fontaine dead. I just gave him what he wanted.
So there we see the end of Diane McClintock as she walks in on Frank Fontaine, sort of giving everything away, you know, espousing his beliefs to a voxophone, or, you know, to one of these audio diaries, and she just so happens to, you know, be present, walk in at exactly the wrong time, and she suffers most likely a pretty terrible fate because of it. So we get Focused Hacker 2, 4 fewer overload tiles when hacking, so we can definitely get rid of that one, I think. Not entirely sure what Clever Inventor was. As we get a second new diary, and this is Diane McClintock.
Outside the wire today. We snagged 31 rounds of buckshot, 4 frag grenades, a shotgun, and 34 Atom. We lost McGee, Epstein, and Vallette. We got one of those goddamn big daddies in the bargain, though. It was something awful they had to do to that little girl to get the Atom, but we didn't start this thing. Ryan did. I can't wait to tell Atlas. He'll be so pleased.
So there you go, that is her sort of coming in ready, and yet this is what Frank Fontaine saw to her good news. So yeah, very important area. We obviously have power to the people machine. We have 2 audio diaries. We have a gene tonic as well, which is incredibly important. And we can also break open the safe for some useful ammo, a lot of other things. As I think this is an area we've already been to. Yeah, it definitely is if we've already searched it. So with that being the case, I think it's time for us to get out of here. We'll head over to the Gatherer's Garden, I think, just beforehand, just because I think it makes sense to do so. But once we've done that, I think we're pretty much done for Olympus Heights and Apollo Square, which means that the next thing to do is I'll head over to so I'll just search this. So we get Prolific Inventor, which means that we get twice as many as a normal. We also get a trophy called Tonic Collector, which is collecting a set number of tonics, 50 odd, 50 something. I don't know exactly how many. It's certainly not them all, because obviously there are some ones that we can buy with our Adam and various things like that. I'm thinking about it. That might mean that there may not be a particularly there may not be a what's the word I'm looking for? There may not be a trophy for getting every single gene tonic, but I'll have to look that up. But we do get a trophy there, which is really good. I'm going to store this one in the gene bag, just because the invention isn't entirely useful to us. Like, obviously it's great to be able to invent things, but frankly, it's far more useful right now, because it'll be far more useful later on, because right now there is a trophy we need to get for inventing, I think, 100 things. So it makes sense to actually sort of be getting less for our various things. So we get our final new plasmid slot, which means we get maxed all tracks, which is having maxed out every single plasmid. And then we can definitely start thinking about getting some of these things later on. But seeing as we will inevitably get cheaper prices, we'll either get cheaper or the same prices in the final area, being Hephaestus. There is no rush for us to do that, so we will do that at the start of the next episode, probably at some point. Pretty sure there are still Little Sisters for us to deal with, so we'll have that to look forward to too. And
Right
So there we see Fontaine sort of bragging almost to us what he possesses, and we will certainly see the consequences of what he says very soon. Oh, hello. Oh, you're just a standard leadhead. You were going down very fast. Okay, so I think... Oh, there is a director's commentary, so we'll just grab that. Again, I haven't got nearly all of those. I think I've missed a few. So if you're looking at the PS3 version of the game, don't use this as a guide to those. Because, like I said, I haven't got them all. But good to know that they're there. So the PS4 version of the game, I should say. The remastered version. And that being that, I think it's time for us to hightail it out of here. So obviously we could head to Point Prometheus and finish off the game essentially, but first of all we are going to head to Fort Frolic. Because this episode would be very short otherwise, it's well worth us doing this. If we head to Fort Frolic, we can then unlock Sander Cohen's chest, his chest with the key that we got after facing off against him inside his suite. So a very brief journey to Fort Frolic, and then we'll take the bathysphere to Point Prometheus and call this episode to an end. So another good episode, solid episode. You know, obviously we've been smashing this, frankly, just making really, really good progress. There are some really interesting plasmids that I'm trying to work out. I don't think it's this game where Security Bullseye gets its extreme upgrade that it does, because in I think it must be 2. In the second game, you get a huge bonus when you use Security Bullseye, because I think if you upgrade it to its most, you get the chance to sort of summon 2 elite security bots just by using the plasmid, which is incredibly useful. So let's have a look. $70, 8 incendiary bolts, and a bunch of first aid kits. We'll just grab the first aid kits. It's not a particularly valuable, you know, not a extremely super valuable set of rewards there, but they are there. Thought I'd show it to you. I thought it was important that, you know, we showcase everything. And now, here we go. Point Prometheus. Let's head this way. So yeah, so Point Prometheus, we'll soon find out, is again the final area of the game. It has a very particular sort of idea behind it, like every area in the BioShock sort of, certainly in these BioShock games, they have very much very clear, very clearly defined regions, very clearly defined levels, I guess you could describe them as, with very clear themes. And so we'll see what Point Prometheus is soon when we have...
Alright, you looking to slug it out? I'm game. But I got all the atom in the city, pal, and I ain't shy about you. Now, I'm Jake to take her out for a spin.
What is this you wait for? Go and get this idiot!
Okay, so actually, thinking about it, we might as well chase after Frank Fontaine here after he goads us like that. So he's obviously turned to splicing, and we can see that in, obviously, his abilities. But we well know that splicing has its side effects, certainly. Okay, so it looks like we're going to get a security box. Do. Yep, never mind. You're also mine now. So yeah, you can see that the amount of time that enemies and things are spending paralyzed is very, very short.
Coming and rapture's a fish tank.
Shite! You let him get away. Oh, I need a moment for thinking. Of course. This will be no problem. Find a Big Daddy and search his body. I would suggest you to be finding a dead one. You see the suit control system? The good, get it. That is step one of turning you into one of those disgusting Big Daddies. The only way to get through that door Fontaine went through is to have a little one open it for you. They will only trust you if you look like, sound like, and even smell like one of those big, stinking brutes.
So there we go. This is what the game has come down to. As you can see, in order to enter the area where Frank Fontaine has run to, the museum here, it's also the escort proving grounds, or armored escort proving grounds, which is essentially the Big Daddy proving grounds. In order to get through here, we need a little sister to open it from the other side through this door. And in order to do that, well, we need to become a Big Daddy. So that is what this region is all about. It's all about the science behind the Big Daddies and stuff like that. And I will see you on the next episode, where we'll be starting our transformation into one of those Big Daddies. See you then.